Hey guys, welcome back to the Calvinist Contradiction, where today we're going to be talking about the Calvinist Conflation. And so, please join us as we're going on this journey, looking through the Calvinist Conflation alongside of our journey where we're going through is Calvinism, or at least the tenets of Calvinism, found in the biblical narrative. And we've been going through the opening of the Bible and looking through to see, is it indeed found at the very beginning of scriptures? Because if it's found in the beginning of scriptures, it will be carried all the way through. If it's developed after the scriptures and then put back in there, of course you're not going to find it anywhere. But today we're kind of looking at this other series that we're running alongside of our is Calvinism found in the scriptures, the opening narrative of the Bible, with the Calvinist conflation. And that's where two concepts that don't mean the same thing are conflated or are brought together to mean one thing. And so we just are asking, is meticulous control in sovereignty the same thing? Now, if you like these videos, please subscribe, please like, please share, and please pray about supporting our ministry. We do this pro bono. I'm involved with a lot of ministries. I live in Asia Minor. I've been here for 10 years now. Have my family over here. We're on support. This is how we're able to do these kind of things. And so if you enjoy this content, please pray about that. Also, I wanted to thank everybody for their comments in the comment section. I know it can be a little, slow getting back to you guys. Sometimes I can't get back to you. I do read each and every one of them, but I just don't have the time to respond. So thank you, brothers and sisters, for responding to, some of the comments. Who have a provisionalist and an Arminian perspective, a free will theodicy, these kind of things. They help out a lot to for me to be able to respond as much as I can. Again, I wish I could do more. Hopefully, in the future, I will be able to do that. But as it is right now, I can only do so much. And so I have prepared a couple things for today. So the question is sovereignty and meticulous control the same thing? And so I just want to start off with a couple of definitions here. We have sovereignty. So this is the whole thing. Should these two concepts be conflated to mean one thing? We talked about this in our last episode, where Calvinists take two meanings and they conflate them to mean one thing. And that was, does election and does salvation mean the same thing? No, it does not. It definitely does not. We prove that through the scriptures, even that, God's elect um, people group, who was Israel, they were not all saved. And so, this idea that election is one for one salvation is really an anomaly that happens in Calvinism, and we're saying it shouldn't be that way. But the Calvinistic system is the trapping for this conflation to happen. And so, does sovereignty equal meticulous control? Well, the definition of sovereignty refers to the supreme authority and power held by a governing body or entity, such as a nation state or a ruler or God. Okay, I'm putting that in there, or God. It is the ability to exercise independent decision makings and to govern a defined territory or group of people or everything. Sovereignty entails the right to make and enforce laws, establish policies, and maintain order with a specific jurisdiction. It represents the highest level of authority within the given political or governing framework. That's what sovereignty means. Nowhere in that description do you read meticulous control over all things. So again, I use the example of my house. I am sovereign over my house. Does that mean I meticulously control my kids' every desire and will? No, of course not. That would be bologna sausage, and only really bologna sausage would warrant something like that, because again, it's conflating sovereignty, which we just read the definition, has nothing to do with meticulous control, into meticulous control. Well, what is meticulous control? Meticulous control refers to a high degree of detail and precise management or regulation over various aspects of a particular system or situation. It implies careful and thorough attention to every detail, leaving no room for chance or randomness. Meticulous control involves an intense level of monitoring, planning, and intervention to ensure that events or circumstances unfold according to a predetermined plan or desired outcome. It implies a strong ability to manage and direct all elements of a system or situation or precise or precision with precision and accuracy. I'm sorry. And so see what's happening there. Sovereignty in the and they just did this over time, I guess. I don't know how they did this. Sovereignty equals meticulous control. And they just speak of them as one. Therefore, in the Calvinistic system, they become one, even though these two concepts are separate concepts. Okay, that's what we're saying. They have separate definitions. The definitions do not define each other, they are not synonymous. So, why does Calvin and his systematic, and then all the Johns and all the people who propagate this systematic conflate them to mean one thing? They just are not. And so they should not be recognized interchangeably as they are in the Calvinistic systematic. Now, again, meticulous control, from John Piper's own words, is God literally moves every decimite, down to every decimite, down to every atom. He not only allows it, he controls it. And from the, killings of Dennis Rader, as unimaginable as it may seem to us, from the killings from Dennis Rader, where he eats his victims, to the, death camps in Auschwitz and Birkenau, where they killed millions of Jews, to even the rape of young children, it's not God allowing, it's him doing it. Okay. And so that is from John Piper's Desiring God. We've put it on there. The links in the, on the website. You can, or not on the website, on the channel. You can go there. You can go to our podcast. It's the first podcast, so you can get the information there. I'm not maligning. This is what meticulous control means. Now, my question is, one, why do they have to do this? Why do they make these two concepts and conflate them as one? But two, which God is stronger? Okay? Am I stronger? Am I the better dad because I literally meticulous control my kids to sin, and then I punish them, and then I reward them when I make them do good, and then I give them the gift for their reward? Or am I stronger because what does it say here? It is the ability to exercise independent decision makings and govern a defined territory where people group sovereignty entails the right to make and enforce laws and establish policies. So, which one's stronger? The one who literally has to make people obey or disobey, or the one who enforces laws and establish policy to maintain order within that specific jurisdiction? So, my house is my specific jurisdiction. My family knows I enforce the laws, and I am sovereign to do so. So, regardless of what my children do or my wife does, whether it's for my, glory, or if it's against my glory, or whatever it is, if it's in line with my laws for my house or for the way that I want to run my house, or if it's not, my sovereignty is still going to reign supreme, and I'm going to rule this jurisdiction in in the way that my sovereignty decrees. I don't have to meticulously control everybody, because my will is going to be done in the end of the day. And I'm saying, which God is stronger in these worldviews? I would say the one that literally can use anybody's decision and still have his outcome, you know, um, his will be done, even though he's using free will. He's using a free will theodicy to have to have his will accomplished, or the one who literally has to meticulously control every single detail for his will to be done. I'll say weak sauce is the Calvinistic, you know, world views God, and strong sauce or the true sauce or the stronger entity is the one who can obviously use a free will beings determinations and still accomplish his plans. Okay, that's what we're saying here, that this biblical God is stronger than the Calvinistic God. And so I would say the Calvinistic God is not true. Sorry, I think I have allergies or something today. From a secular perspective, is the concept of sovereignty and meticulous control the same? From a secular perspective, the concept of sovereignty does not necessarily imply meticulous control in the same way it may be understood in religious or theological concepts, if you're in the Calvinistic worldview. In secular decisions, sovereignty typically refers to the supreme authority and power held by a governing body, such as a nation or state. Again, we can look at, my country's governing body. Does he meticulously control what I'm doing right now? No, he doesn't. But he's still the sovereign over this nation. And so, while sovereignty implies a high level of authority and decision making power, it does not necessarily imply meticulous control over every aspect of a nation state. In practice, the exercise of sovereignty may involve a range of factors, including political situations, laws, opinions, and external influences. The specific degree of control that a sovereign entity exerts over its territory and citizens can vary significantly depending on the political system and governing principles in place. Secular decisions of sovereignty tend to focus on issues such as governance, autonomy, jurisdiction, and the relationship between different governing bodies. The concept is primarily concerned with the recognition of exercise of authority rather than the level of detailed control. The concept is primarily concerned with the recognition and exercise of authority rather than a level of detailed control over individual events or circumstances. It's worth noting that different uh, theo- theosophical and political perspectives may have nuanced interpretations of sovereignty and secular context. Some theories may emphasize a more centralized and comprehensive control, while others may emphasize greater individual autonomy and decentralization. These perspectives can shape discussions on the extent of nature of sovereignty in secular context. And so right there, secular concept, are we saying God is like the president of a country where he is sovereign and he sets laws and he reigns supreme, regardless of the free will decisions of that nation. Now let's just forget about free will and has got control. Let's just say God is controlling every single person in that country. Does the king of that country or the president of that country control everybody in that country? No, we just said God does, for to placate the Calvinists here. They said God does. So even in that context, the sovereign, over the country is not meticulously controlling all things. So why in the world is it conflated here? So then you have a, president in one hand, which we would say that's more like the God of the Bible in my estimation, or a dictator. And there's no way you can get around it. He's just a dictator. Really, in the Calvinist perspective, we just looked at this with Sodom and Gomorrah. He's kind of, a freak, I would say. The God of Calvinism is a freak because he's doing freaky stuff in Genesis 19, and then he has to sweep it away. I don't know. Like we said, maybe he's sweeping on or whatever. But he did that kind of weird stuff that's going on that gets Sodom and Gomorrah and the 5 cities destroyed. And so that's just how it is. He's the dictator, or is he the president that his his sovereign decree, again, his will is being done, even though there's autonomy um, under amongst his citizens. And so that's in secular. I wanted to add this. Now, in biblical theology, does sovereignty equal meticulous control? Is this what's going on here in biblical theology? In biblical theology, the concept of God's sovereignty refers to his supreme authority and control over all things. It acknowledges that God is ultimately ruler and has power to govern the direct the universe according to his will. Okay, so where's meticulous control right there? Biblical theology, the concept of God's sovereignty refers to his supreme authority and control over all things. It acknowledges that God is the ultimate ruler and has power to govern and direct the universe according to his will. Okay, so he has supreme authority and control over all things. He can. Obviously, he's God. This is what makes God God. He can do everything. Does he do everything? That's what we're saying. Does he make people sin that goes against his decree not to sin? No, he doesn't. He can't contradict himself. It acknowledges that God is the ultimate ruler. This is what we're talking about, and has the power to govern and direct the universe according to his will. But are we supposed to infer that he does that meticulously? However, whether or not God exercises meticulous control over every single aspect of creation is the topic of theological debate and among different Christian Christian traditions. This debate revolves around the tension between God's sovereignty and human freedom or responsibility. In some theological perspectives, such as Calvinism, emphasizes meticulous providence, also Islam, which suggests that God exercises detailed control over every event and circumstance in the world. The rape of young children. That's not God allowing, that is God doing. That is God performing. That is God wanting to rape a child using someone to do that for his glory. Okay, that's him doing. According to this view, nothing happens outside of God's predetermined plan. God predetermined to kill millions of Jews in Auschwitz and Birkenau, and every aspect of creation, including human choices. The choice to rape, pillage, kill, destroy is instructively governed by his sovereignty or his will, his desire. Okay, that's what we're talking about here. On the other hand, other theological perspectives, such as Arminianism or provisionalism, emphasize human free will and argue that God's sovereignty is compatible with human responsibility. Okay, this is what we're getting back to. The dictator who wants to destroy, who wants to suppress, who wants to, hurt others to glorify himself, or the God who works compatibly with human responsibility and still has his will accomplished. They suggest that while God is indeed sovereign, he has granted humans the ability to make genuine choices and decisions. So you can make a genuine choice and decision. My friend who is in the comments saying that I should learn Greek and Hebrew, who are you saying that to? You're not living consistently within the Calvinistic worldview, deterministic worldview, reformed worldview, doctrines of grace worldview that you have built for yourself or your systematic has built for you. Because only God can make me learn Greek or Hebrew in your world. But you're referring to what? One that can make genuine choices and decisions. So that's a free world theodicy, my friend. And that's what I'm saying in the comments. Have you joined this free will theodicy? Because you're not living consistently. You can't live consistently, actually, as a Christian in the Calvinistic systematic, because you are supposed to share the gospel. Now, okay, you might not share the gospel. And I'm not saying you technically. I'm saying as a Calvinist, you might not share the gospel because God will just make whoever believes. But then you're not living consistently within the Christian traditions. Okay, you can't live consistently with this. So he has granted humans the ability to make genuine choices and decisions which can have real consequences and still accomplish his will. According to this view, God's sovereignty does not negate human freedom, but rather works in harmony with it to accomplish his will. It's important to note that both perspectives find support in various biblical passages, whether they're in context or not. And the tension between God's sovereignty and human freedom is a complex and profound theological topic. It has been discussed in debate throughout Christian history. Ultimately, the precise nature and extent of God's control are mysterious beyond full human comprehension, and different believers and theologians may hold varying perspectives on this matter. I would say, yes, the full extent is beyond uh, a full comprehension for humans, and it's a mystery. But I think a lot of it is revealed in the biblical narrative. That's why the biblical narrative is given to us, so that we can see what is going on here in the Bible. We can know God's desires. We can know how God works. So, sovereignty, again, does it equal meticulous control? Last example, David the king, a man after God's own heart, as he's ruling over Israel, is he meticulously controlling the every desire, every single thing, little decision that is made amongst the citizens for his glory? Is that how we're supposed to interpret sovereignty, in the Bible? And if not, what makes us look at God's sovereignty any different? That's what we're trying to ask this question. How do these two things get conflated? Why do these two things get conflated? And if they're not supposed to be, if they're not in any other context, why in Calvin's systematic reform, systematic doctrines of grace, systematic T.U.L.I.P, systematic? I don't care whatever systematic you want to call it, so you don't have to, be lumped in with Calvinism. And I get that, man. I totally understand why you wouldn't want to be lumped in this bologna sausage theology. But the outcome is the same if you adhere to any of those tenets of Calvinism that, go by a more closet or, undercover name. So, love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us while we discuss this, uh, you know, conflation in Calvinism of does sovereignty equal meticulous control? It doesn't in any other context, so why should it now? Love you guys. Peace and blessings. Have a great day.